When I was 19 years old, I got off this TV show on Nickelodeon, and my mom was like, "All right, so you're gonna go to college?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna study under this like really big producer, Babyface." And she was like, "You sure you don't want to go to college?" And I was like, "Well, I know what I want to do. You don't have to wear a suit to be a boss." I'm Leon Thomas. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a musician first and foremost. I love R&B. I love rock and roll. I love everything that has to do with notes and sound. New York is all through my sound because New York is a melting pot, and I am definitely a reflection of that. If you want to really go on a journey for my music, I think you should start on my project Genesis, which I named Genesis for a reason because it was the first moment of me feeling like, you know what? Regardless of being signed at that time, I was just gonna put something out. I was gonna believe in myself and just try to make something work. I mean, it wasn't like a huge, like critically acclaimed project, but that's a good way for you to start. And then I want you to go all the way through if you can, from Electric Dusk to Mutt and even to my project Heal. When you get a chance, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like Genesis, just know I was in my bedroom making all them records, so they don't have the best mixes, but it was coming from the heart, and it was really cool to see people like respond to it. I got on the radio, like independent, which was really cool, and it definitely helped me build over time. It's been a journey. I feel like my life has been a lesson of success and failures, and understanding that there's a lesson in all of it. Black music has been something that's really important to my family. My mom, she's a singer and a vocal coach, and used to do seminars on all of the great contributions that Black artists have made over the years from the 60s till now. My mom taught African American studies, and when it came to music, Motown was all through the home. So it definitely meant a lot to me, and I think a lot of that rubbed off on how I make records now. Seeing them perform live was a big deal. I was their biggest fan, and over time it turned into me wanting to get on that stage. And I started real young, 10 years old. I'm 32 now. That's a solid 22 years. Like, no joke, really hitting the pavement and building something. But it hasn't been easy, and I think that plays a big part in why some of the wins feel so good. A lot of the stuff I was doing with Nick was when I was younger, when I was like 13 years old in New York. I was filming a bunch of stuff there, but then I got a big show called Victorious, and flew me out here to LA, moved my family and everything, and built that house that became like a #1 TV show for a long time. We were beating out American Idol and shit. Like, for all you kids, American Idol is a show on Fox. Nah, but Victorious was a really big moment, but it's tough for a lot of child actors from that era to kind of cross over, especially without relying off of shock value. To get kind of in depth, after being on Nickelodeon, it was really hard musically for me to be taken seriously as an artist. I was spending years behind the scenes, like making records for other people, and was getting like fair amounts of success, doing songs and getting placements, but I wasn't really like financially like abundant at that time. And I think the hunger is what really like brought me to a place of not allowing myself to overthink anymore. I had to really just start dropping things and being myself and being unapologetically me. And over time, like I've gotten more and more comfortable with that. I think when you're trained to play somebody else, it's kind of hard to learn how to be yourself at a point. I started off writing, so that was a big thing. And then I think what really gave me my voice was the opportunity to produce, and perfecting sound and like understanding how to manipulate sound and become masterful at what I do in the studio. I think that became a really cool piece that gave me autonomy. I didn't really have to rely on anybody to record a song or even to put something together. If I wanted to, I could put a whole EP together and call some friends and, ask for favors and put something out independently. But without the lessons that I learned as a producer, I don't think I would have been able to do that as an artist. I feel like throughout my career, I've been around some really powerful men. When I was 19 years old, my mom was like, "All right, so you're gonna go to college?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna study under this like really big producer, Babyface." And she was like, "You sure you don't want to go to college?" And I was like, "Well, I know what I want to do. Um, and I feel like he's done everything that I really want to get done. And being at his studio and seeing the Bentley and knowing that he owned the building we were creating out of, let me know that there was more to music than notes. That there's like a business side to it, and there was no better way for me to kind of really build my career. I spent about 6 years producing and songwriting for other artists, but I was studying the entire time. Like I had everything but a notebook and pencil out, like kicking it with him and being around big executives from Republic and all of the major labels, and kind of just seeing how, you don't have to wear a suit to be a boss, And he was like the first mentor that I really had a chance to just like watch. And then being around Boy Wonder too, who is just an amazing diamond selling like producer, but also businessman. Working with him was really helpful. And then Ty Dolla $ign came around, and then I was really able to see what it was like from the artist perspective and how you build and also protect your life. It was an interesting time for me because it was like right around the pandemic, and I co-produced a song for Drake and Rick Ross called Gold Roses. And for the first time, all these executives out of nowhere were like, you know what, kid, we think you might have something, But I didn't really want to deal with them. So I was driving one day and I stopped at a red light, and this is destiny in action. Uh, the A&R that I work with today, Sean Barron, was at the same red light, and he starts conking his horn. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, call me, call me. So he calls me, and we start talking about this label he's building called Easy Money. And it was a label he was doing with Ty Dolla $ign. And me and Ty had actually, around the times, serendipitously, like, we're working with Ariana on a song, Safety Net, that ended up coming out on her album Positions. And we're pretty good friends. And over time, we ended up doing a deal with Motown, which my mom, when I was 18, told me, I think you need to sign to Motown. Now I have a new project, Folks, coming out, which is really amazing because it taps into a lot of the roots of why I make music. It's a lot of work to get here, and I feel so proud of myself and the people around me, because I know I'm not an easy artist to work with because I am a workaholic. I mean, at this point, I was just trying to make sure I didn't get dropped. I ain't gonna lie. Like, this industry is unforgiving, and, everybody's very focused on making sure that you have your ROI, return of investment. So for me, I was like, I was really fighting because I know I have something to offer this world. And, it's up to me to put the work in and to put the people in place creatively. I can't like rely on anybody from a team standpoint to do that for me, because they can't tell me who I am. And in that moment, I knew like it was time. I was like, all right, bro, yeah, you made all the fartsy shit. Like, let's like buckle down. Let's do something that's singable. Working with other artists, they talk about shows and how important it is to make music that an audience can sing back. And that's really what I went into the studio trying to do. Whether it was a hit single or not, who knows? But I just wanted to make something that was fun to sing for anybody, something drunk and fun, So I know it can be definitely really tough on the mental if you're working creatively with me. But this project is about my roots, It's about the things that inspire me, and the fact that Black music, as you mentioned earlier, isn't just attributed to R&B. It's also attributed to rock and roll. And Jimi Hendrix is a huge inspiration for me. And a lot of the records outside of My Muse and Just How You are really using that psychedelic influence in live instrumentation. And I wanna be able to be known as somebody who is fearless enough to say, all right, y'all are doing that, but this is me, And it's a gamble, but I think what's life without risks? There's a song called Baccarat, and it's just talking about gambling on love, essentially. It kind of exemplifies like the mood of what this whole EP is, because it's a gamble of mine. I'm like creating freely. I'm throwing paint. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing live music in a world full of programmed drums, and I think that gambling aspect of it, I hope it really pays off, because I know we we genuinely worked really hard on this, and I know this art is really special, you know, and that record has a very special place in my heart. Also, My Muse is really dope too, and I feel like that's gonna be a song that really resonates with my current fans. A lot of the records, a lot of the records were really done in a way that was communal. Jam sessions, like the art of collaboration, and how we came up with a lot of this stuff kind of happened in the same way that Jimmy would have made a record. Ohio players would have made a record where it was everybody playing all at once. So a lot of the sounds they're hearing were played simultaneously. So there's that one mind thing going on where there's changes happening all the way through it that they're really playing to the overall theme, and that spontaneous, that disruptive energy, I think is what I'm trying to bring to music right now, and I'm gonna continue waving that flag. Just How You Are was a record that came from me being kind of frustrated. I was working on this EP, my EP folks, and I feel like we were kind of hitting a creative wall. So I got to the studio earlier that day, and I told my engineer, just like, record me on the drums. I was like, now record me on the bass, record me on guitar, record me on piano. And then after a while, like this idea started forming, and the groove was just there, and it was apparent, and it felt really cool, and it felt funky, you know, like it just reminded me of Prince, it reminded me of the time. Um, just a lot of different things that really inspired me, you know. And when I started writing the record, my boy Phelps came in and he started adding some stuff. And then my boy Freaky Rob, who also worked with me on Mutt, both of those guys did. And, you know, to have them there, those are my brothers, man. I mean, Folks to me is like just as much a me EP as it is a band EP, because I did this whole thing with them, and it was a it was a really cool opportunity to showcase. I was like, yo, look, yo, I got some chops too, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, those guys are amazing musicians. So it was nice that, you know, I got their funk approval, you know what I'm saying? And we turned it into a song that I love to this day. It can be a hard road, but I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna promote. I'm gonna do all the things I have to do. And fighting for freedom in music, I think, is a really beautiful thing, because if people like myself don't do that now, I have no idea what's gonna happen in the next 10 years. Sometimes I don't wanna jinx my future. I talk about things a lot before they happen, but I always like to do it in front of eyes and ears that care about my vision, you know. So hopefully everybody watching gives a shit.
You write, produce, perform. I mean, you're more than a triple threat, you know? So what's something you haven't done yet and you want to tackle next?
Build a Fortune 500 company. I got my eyes on tech, to be honest. I feel like it's the new Americas, you know. It's like the opportunity to have digital real estate in this time period could be generational wealth. I really want to work with Frank Ocean. That would be really awesome, man. I think he's got an amazing pen, and I just wonder what like our minds will put together. Also, Beyonce would be really dope to do something with. And I don't know, man. You know, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people, man. Tame Impala would be really cool. There's a bunch of folks. You know, me and Kate Trinata, we've been talking about working together for a long time, and I think that's gonna happen soon. So hopefully we can get something together too. I mean, those are some powerful minds, man. Instruments matter, humans matter. In the next 10 to 12 years, we're gonna deal with a lot of music that had no human touch, which is gonna be an interesting thing. And I really hope that the legacy of my art inspires more people to kind of work together in this collaborative effort that's communal, where you get together and you jam and you write a song and you put it together and you know, put it out knowing that it had that human touch to it, because things are gonna change drastically. And mark my words, in that time period, I hope that there are future artists who were inspired to pick up a guitar or some drumsticks or a bass and you know, jam with their homies. Because, you know, we need more garage bands out there, more kids, you know, thinking it's cool to play instruments, because I think it's slowly but surely gonna become a little less frequent. Who's on my radar? Damn, that's a good question. You know, On my radar, somebody who I listen to probably daily at this point is McGee. His sound is just so special. And as a guitarist, like I just really respect him introducing a tone that is specifically his. So hard to do on an instrument, man, you know? So shout out to him for building and, you know, really putting something together that's specifically his. I'm well aware of the legacy behind me, and I'm just doing everything I can to just continue on, just making music that feels timeless in a way. You know, the live instrumentation and the kind of songwriting that I'm doing, you know, I really hope people resonate with it. It's Leon Thomas, and I'm Spotify's next Radar artist.